Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Y&T and Friends Vinyl Talk. I'm your host, Brian Foster, and today we are going to talk some Y&T. Specifically, we're going to talk about 1985's Down for the Count. But before we do that, if you wouldn't mind, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe below. Appreciate all the support out there and those that have been watching the channel since we started here almost a year ago now. All right, so as I've done on most of these Y&T album episodes, this will be two parts. So today we're going to talk about all the vinyl releases worldwide for this album, including the single that came out with this. And then next week will be part two. We'll have a special guest and we'll deep dive into this album track by track and give our takes about what we feel about this album. So special guest next week too is someone new to the channel. So excited to get that one out there for you. All right. So without further ado, let's get into this one here. So we'll start with the single. So the single on this album was All American Boy, which is a cover song, and was the video for this album, the one and only. So one of the few picture sleeves 45s that Y&T had. And on the back there, you got the album cover on there, and this was backed with Go for the Throat, which is cool because that was not on the album, right? And it's the studio version of Go for the Throat. We got the live version on Open Fire. So this is a US copy, and then you can see down on the bottom, it's a promotional copy. So on the promotional copy, you get All American Boy on both sides, even though the sleeve has Go for the Throat on it. So that means that there's a stock copy. With that will actually have Go for the Throat on there. And you can see letter W there. That's the pressing plant for this particular one here. So that's the difference between the two US versions, I believe. Yes. Just those two versions US wise. So next up we have, and this sleeve, I know the US sleeve was very glossy. This is more of a textured feel to it. And then you can see Go for the Throat is in white, and all the lettering in white there instead of pink on the back there. And this is a blue label A&M from Germany. So you got All American Boy. And then you have Go for the Throat. It's kind of a cool label Germany had for these back then. And then the only non-picture sleeve actually came from Canada. And you got the white label there. And backed by Go for the Throat. So that would be the Canadian version of that. Then the last two 45s are Japanese. So the Japanese always had like the insert here with the cover, and then the lyrics both in English and Japanese on the other side. You can see it's got the cover of the artwork there on the bottom. And then it was just the orange label, A&M label there. However, you can see that those boxes there with Japanese letterings, that stands for, basically translates to not for sale. So this is a promotional version, but this promotional does have Go for the Throat on side 2. And then, of course, we're just going to have same Japanese cover there. The only difference is going to be on the label, where you do not have that box that has the lettering that translates to not for sale. So this is the stock copy. And again, it's just backed with Go for the Throat on the second side. All right, so that takes care of the 7-inch 45s worldwide. There were, however, a couple of 12-inch singles. So the first here just came in this black cover, nothing on it. Is the 12-inch for All American Boy on the white A&M label. So again, US. So seeing as how it's a promotional copy, they got All American on both sides. You know, this song was short enough at 2 minutes and 20 seconds, by far the shortest Y&T song. No need for radio edits on that one. And then this was not released as a single, but it was released to radio stations. And I don't know for sure. Lucky, the sleeve is an A&M sleeve. You know, got the 12 for 12-inch. I don't know if this is the original one, seeing as how you've got the SP0012. Probably should have looked up that title. And the album here is, or this label number here for Face Like an Angel is 17362. So makes me feel like that's probably not the right sleeve for it. But I haven't seen too many copies of these, so I'm not sure which sleeve on there. Definitely wouldn't be a picture sleeve or anything like that. So I guess it really doesn't matter which one it was. But on this one here for radio stations, you can see you got the album version at 442, and then the radio edit version at 359. So radio stations could choose which one they would play. However, to be honest, I don't remember any, at least radio stations where I was in 1985 and early 1986 playing that song. All right, so that is all the singles. So let's get into the full-length albums here. So as I was showing earlier here, so this is a US promo. This hype sticker here that came with it is actually on the jacket. And then you have that promo stamp right down there. I know it's tough to see. But it says loan for promotional only, not for sale, ownership and rights reserved. You can see on the back cover, they do have the classic logo on the back there. And then the guys, you know, are all glammed out there for 1985. These just had the white paper inner sleeve, so nothing special there. A&M wasn't really spending too much money on them anymore. And then the kind of classic A&M label there. And you can see on the bottom there, there's a B, so that's the plant B where this was produced. And then just checking it, but this is on that quiet vinyl that's translucent. So you hold this up to the light and you get a little green translucent tint to it. So plus it's definitely heavier vinyl than what was being produced there in 85 for most on there. So that's the first one. So second one is exactly the same as the last one. It is also, if you can see through there, plant B, but this is just a stock copy. So since it's out of the shrink, I don't have the hype sticker for it, but otherwise it's exactly the same. So this version here, US, is still has the shrink wrap on it, so thus it has that hype sticker. This was, you can see in the cutout bin, which unfortunately didn't take too long to get there. And this particular one, you can see on the bottom there is plant R. So you'd think I'd have these plant letters memorized in that, but if I remember correctly, R was not Indianapolis, but it might have been actually Terre Haute, the plant that they used, the RCA plant. All right, then we have another US version. This is just a label variant because this is plant C on the bottom there. Otherwise the same. That one's actually translucent as well. So most of, I think, the first pressings, it should be the only pressings really, were translucent on these. All right. So that's the last two US copies here are going to be club copies. So this particular one is going to be from RCA Music Club, which you can see with that stamp down below. And then the licensing number, the bottom there. And then you can tell the label's a little different there. But you've got the license number to the side. So that is also a plant R where that came from. So, which would then make sense that it's a RCA plant in either Terre Haute or Indiana. Well, or Indianapolis, I should say. Terre Haute is in Indiana. All right, then the last US version here is the other club, which was Columbia House Records. And that you can see on the bottom corner there in black is the CRC stamp on there. And then on the label for that, there is no plant designation. So Columbia House did have their own plants though. So that's what the label looked like there. No CRC on this label. For the most part, see, Columbia House did not do that on the labels, but they did do on some. So they weren't consistent with that. All right, so that takes care of US. Now we'll go into the Canadian. So front cover, same. Back cover there, you can see the price code back there. Had this inner sleeve in it. Get that back in there. And then just as the 45 from Canada, it has the white A&M label. So I kind of call that the 5-box label. So that's the Canadian stock copy there. And they did have Columbia House in Canada. So here is your CRC. You can tell that's a lot bigger CRC than the US version there. On the back, clear inner sleeve on that one. And then the label looks more like the classic A&M label for that time period. But it does, under the label code there, have CRC on the label. On both sides there. All right, so now we're going to go across the pond and look at some UK versions here. So this has a glossy jacket to it. Kind of see by the reflection there. Again, nothing with the inner sleeve. The back, you can see the label code designations there. A little different on the back. And as most of the UK ones here, that same kind of A&M label. Just the font's a little different. There's side 2. So while this album really didn't sell a whole lot, I know that A&M was trying to capitalize on the the small success of Summertime Girls kind of rushed this album out. But it was distributed to a lot of different countries. Um, so next we've got this one here is from West Germany. It's got the little price sticker on the jacket itself. And then underneath the barcode there, you got the catalog numbers. And then a little more information down there in the bottom corner. Then just a plain white inner sleeve. And then similar to the Canadian, you've got the white 5-box label. I think I might need to keep that one out to show something here in a sec. Yep. So, basically, this one is the same. It's also from West Germany. However, let's see. This one. Oop, get that turned the right way. So on the label, all right, so take a look at the bottom there for the credits for Face Like an Angel. All right. And then the one I just showed, take a look at the credits for Face Like an Angel. So that's the difference between those two. I know it's kind of nerdy, but it is a label variant. So why those things happened, don't know. I'm sure they probably pressed one, and then somebody saw that there were some credits missing or something like that. Made us think about it. So the next kind of go around, they added those credits back in. That's kind of what I gathered from that. All right, so this next one is actually from Greece. Like I said, they got this out worldwide. I mean, like a lot of different countries. So this cover is not in great shape. However, this one was not easy to find either. So, and this had that sticker on the front there. It's on the jacket, so nothing in the way of inner sleeve. Credits on the bottom there, underneath the barcode. And like the Germany, Canadian, this has that white 5-box label. But the interesting part here is that all the credits and song titles are below those 5 boxes. There's just the title above it. Yeah, this was one of the last ones that I needed, or that I thought I needed. There is one we'll talk about at the end here. All right. So this album also made its way to South Africa. So cover's a little more faded. This makes me believe kind of more of a photocopy type thing, but this is officially licensed to be out there. And then again, the classic A&M label. Just the font's a lot different than the others. All right, we got just a few more here. So there was quite a few albums that actually made it to released in the singles as well in Yugoslavia. So again, this jacket is extremely flimsy. All those Yugoslavia ones had that logo up top, and then some more information there on the bottom. I think basically some licensing information there. Again, the white label with the 5-box with all the credits below, just the album title up top. So yeah, again, that it's kind of funny that's just that just made it all the way to Yugoslavia, this particular album. All right, and this one is also from West Germany, and this one is the cover and that and the back are basically the same as the others that I showed. However, the 5-box label is on black now. So this happened on A&M late 86 into 87. So this would have been a repress on this. So if those that saw the Earthshaker episode where I went through this, Earthshaker, the only one I've ever seen US wise that has this same label, black label on it. Being that was released in 81, that had to have been a repress on A&M at some point. So very interesting to find that. All right, last two are from Japan. So, of course, you got the Obi. Won't go through translate, but it's got song listings on the front there. Back of the Obi has other Y&T releases. And then right there is where it's a promotional copy. So inside, the Japanese ones are, again, like I said, they always had lyrics. So that's going to be tough to see there. There we go. Maybe a little better. There's the Japanese. And then your English lyrics. So I don't know if this is something official that came out or if this was just handed out at record stores, maybe when you purchase this. But the copy I got came with this. And then the label for all these Japanese are always that classic label. And you can see a little box up there with the Japanese letters for promotional copy. On that. And then the last one is of course, the stock copy for Japan. Again, same obi there. Same obi on the back. You can tell, though, it's missing that sticker for promotional copy. So the cool thing about this one is did include these stickers. So there are 3 stickers there. So the logo, the band, and then down for the count there. If you can see on the bottom, it does have the catalog number for this release. So it has 2 there. So the AMP is the vinyl. I believe the AMC is the CD. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's the case for it. So these are pretty cool. A lot of times you don't find these in there because people take them out and then don't put them back. They use them. So it's always good to find those intact. And then, of course, the label there. And side 2. And that is all the worldwide vinyl releases that I have in my collection. And up until a year ago, I thought I had them all. And then one popped up on Discogs, and it has pictures, so can verify it. But there is a release from Columbia, which makes sense because I do have a Columbia cassette tape down for the count. So I am still on the hunt for that one. So I am missing that one. But if you would like to see what that looks like, along with pictures and descriptions of all Y&T vinyl worldwide, please check out my Facebook page, the Y&T Vinyl Reference Guide, Worldwide Vinyl Reference Guide. There's a link on the bottom of the show notes here that will take you to that. So you can check that out there and see what that Columbia version looks like. So, all right. So that takes care of part 1 for Down for the Count. Again, next week, we will do the deep dive on the album, track by track, with a first-time, very special guest to talk about that. So we will see you next week. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.